So section 1.3 and 1.4 really are about applications of word problems, applications of linear equations, and those are going to be word problems. And I know most people aren't a big fan of word problems, but I'm going to give us an easy way to go over them, and I'll do them slowly so we can all make sure we're on the same page. So the first thing when you encounter a word problem is most people are like, oh my gosh, I know this is a problem. I have to find the equation in there. So what I'm going to do is give you guys some tips and how to translate a word problem into words. So the first step to finding your equation is going to be looking at your word problem for words like equals, gives, yields, is the same as, or is, was, will be, right? These are all keywords that mean we have an equal sign. 5 is the same as a number plus 2. That's an example of a word problem using one of these words that mean equals. It's also important to remember that if I'm asking you to add two numbers, I might not just blatantly say, please add these two numbers. I could say 2 plus x. I could say find the sum. Or I could say 5 more than, or x increased by 6. These are ways I would be asking for addition. For subtraction, you're going to see words like minus, difference, less than, decreased by, and things like that. When it comes to multiplication, you could say times. Remember when I'm asking you to multiply two numbers, that's finding the product. If I say twice, x, twice means like 2 times, right? So if I wanted twice as much ice cream as you, I would be eating a lot of ice cream, but I'd have 2 times as much, right? You could also just say multiplied by. When it comes to division, the one word that typically trips people up is quotient. Remember, quotient is another word for division. I could also ask you to take the ratio. So the ratio of 3 over x, right? That would be another way I could ask you to divide two numbers. So here's just a nice handy dandy little cheat sheet on translating from English to algebra. So what should I do when I'm reading a word problem? So the first thing I really need you to do is I want you to read that word problem carefully. What information is missing? What does the problem want you to find? Next, you have to assign a variable, just one variable, only one, okay? And that needs to represent the unknown value. The next step is going to be to sketch it out, right? Sometimes it's really helpful to make a table. Sometimes it's helpful to draw a picture. I'm always down to draw a picture. Next step you need to do is write your equations using the variable expressions that you have made, and then you have to solve the equation. The next thing I want you to do is state your answer and say, does it seem reasonable? When it comes to word problems, we want them to be relatable. We, being the math teachers who come up with them, want them to be relatable to your daily life. So no, they were not driving 1,000 miles an hour, okay? No, the movie ticket didn't cost $200, right? We want these to be reasonable values. Then be sure to keep track of your units. Last but not least, check your answer by plugging it into your original equation and see if it makes sense. So let's go through a first example, the first example being about perimeter. So the length of a rectangle is 1 centimeter more than twice the width. And the perimeter of the rectangle is 110 centimeters. So I want to find the length and width of this rectangle. So friendly reminder, if I have a rectangle, we have our length and our width. The equation for the perimeter of a rectangle is 2 times the length plus 2 times the width. What does this equation tell me? Well, it tells me my perimeter is 110, and it also tells me that the length of a rectangle is 1 centimeter more than twice the width. So 1 more than means we're going to add twice the width. That's what my length equals. The length is 1 centimeter more than twice the width. So if I have this equation for perimeter and I'm trying to solve it, well, I was already told my perimeter, so I'm going to substitute that in. Now, I want this to be in one variable. Luckily, I know L defined by W, so I'm going to substitute that in. Instead of having 2 times L, I have 2 times 1 plus 2W plus my original 2W for the width. So now I can go ahead and distribute. 110 is 2 plus 4W plus 2W. I'm going to subtract 2 from both sides. That's 108 equals 4W plus 2W is 6W. I divide both sides by 6. I get that 18 is my width. Awesome. This equation was asking us to find the width and the length of our rectangle. So I know my width is 18. Now I need to find my length. How do I do that? Well, I can plug 18 into our equation for length. So I had length equals 1 plus 2W. That means length equals 1 plus 2 times 18. Length is 1 plus 36, so my length is 37. And if I want to, I can go ahead and check my answer. Perimeter equals 2 times 18, length, which is 37, plus 2 times my width, which is 18, and you will see that that equals 110, which is what we were given.